It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspectives of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is being brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on local radio WMOA AM 1490 and ESPN radio WJAW FM 100.9 and AM 630. It's now time for the show. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Johnny Wharf along with David Hill on a Saturday morning. Energy Insights brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. David Hill with David R. Hill Incorporated. And I want to speak a little bit today, and I'll use these terms and you can explain to them, you can explain them to the listeners. But deep well, we heard deep well, and as it relates to, I guess, the basement of a deep well, just explain when we hear those terms, you know, what that means.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Well, as I mentioned in one of your other sessions, we talked about injection wells and being one of the most misunderstood aspects of our industry, so I appreciate you allowing me to expand on that. So in 2009, I drilled a Class II injection well to what we refer to as the basement, the crystalline. We've drilled through all the sedimentary rocks. We're now down in the crystalline basement. That particular well, the Georgetown Marine Number 1 well, reached a total depth of 13,727 feet deep. I'd done that. I was working with Battelle Institute, a research and development firm in Columbus. And at the time, they were looking for ways to sequester carbon dioxide from the coal plants along the Ohio River. So it was a huge science project. And so we literally examined every formation from the surface of the earth down to over 13,000 feet, looking for zones that, in my case, I was looking to encapsulate the water from oil and gas operations. They were looking for zones that might potentially take carbon dioxide from all the coal plants. And one of the things that I would hope your listeners would get from this is that we're taking the water from these operations and we're putting it back into the earth in zones much deeper from actually where they came from. So we're looking for zones that have that are porous, that are in layman's terms are kind of sponge-like. So we'll inject that water down into those formations. It'll be encapsulated there for eternity, never to see the surface of the earth again. And again, it's done in a safe manner to protect the waters of the state of Ohio, that water is being put back down into the ground, in many cases deeper than where it came from, never to see the surface of the earth again.
Which I guess would make pretty good sense when you start bringing up 13,700, whatever the number was you used, and specifically that wasn't that far away, right? Was what you said, Belmont County?
Yes, it was in Belmont County, just east of St. Clairsville, along the I-470 bypass. I done it because logistically, it was very central to Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, all of the oil and gas activity. Interestingly enough, what we found is at that extreme depth, again, reaching a total depth of over 13,000 feet, we didn't find any zones that were commercial enough or were porous enough to accept that water. So ultimately, we ended up plugging and abandoning that well. But we learned so much. When I say we, I'm talking about the oil and gas industry. I'm talking about the Department of Energy using the research and development, again, behind Battelle Institute. And all of that information is a public record. And to this day, people are still benefiting from the knowledge we gained from drilling that well.
And not just to the industry, but to geology, I assume, in general, the formations and the idea that you could actually drill that deep, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. Now, interestingly enough, I also want to point out that the only rig in Ohio that was capable of reaching that depth and had excellent equipment was right here in southeastern Ohio, the drilling company at Macksburg, Warren Drilling. It's a family-owned business. I worked mostly with Danny Warren, but it's a family business. They were all involved. Interestingly enough, Danny is fifth generation oil and gas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it either until we started drilling it, and they done an excellent job. We learned again. Many of these formations had never been encountered at that depth, and you're right. They'll probably be PhD thesis papers written on some of the information that we learned by drilling that well.
Great information, insights, and the name of the show is Energy Insights. We thank David Hill once again. David R. Hill Incorporated is the business, and our Energy Insights program is brought to you each and every week here on the radio by Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA and ESPN Radio WJAW as Johnny Wolf brings you your local and inside perspectives of the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley.